Chosen one, have you ever truly stopped to ask yourself why you survived? Why you're still here after everything you've endured? Why the storms that should have sunk you, the betrayals that should have broken you, the illnesses that should have claimed you all failed? Why you're still breathing while others with half your pain surrendered long ago? Let me tell you something today that will awaken every dormant part of your spirit. There are ordinary dates that slip past unnoticed, and then there are divine appointments that split the timeline of your entire life. The 7th of July, 2025 isn't just another Monday on your calendar. It's not just a new sunrise. It is the sacred moment when the invisible becomes undeniable. It is when the long silence of heaven finally shatters, when your years of spiritual exile come to an abrupt, glorious end. You've been carrying something in your spirit for so long, a weight you couldn't describe, an expectation so heavy that it pressed on your chest in the middle of the night. You called it desperation. Others might have called it foolish hope, but God calls it prophecy. What has been orbiting around your life, circling your prayers in the unseen realm, is finally stepping into the light. And hear this, only 1% will truly recognize what is coming. Only 1% have been forged, refined, and prepared for this magnitude of divine intervention. And so I ask you today, with all the urgency of heaven behind me, are you part of that 1%? Are you ready to carry what only the rarest vessels can hold? Before we dive deeper into this sacred revelation, I need you to do something bold, something prophetic. Type 999 in the comments right now. Not for me, but as a signal to heaven and a declaration to every dark force that you are still standing, still believing, still fighting, still here. When you type those numbers, you're announcing to the universe and every unseen adversary that your spirit is unbreakable and that you are aligned with heaven's timeline. And to every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks, I want to pause and look into your spirit with gratitude, deeper than words. Your generosity isn't just financial, it is spiritual warfare. You're not just giving, you're helping to spread this light to souls who feel forgotten, overlooked, and abandoned in their calling. You are helping to build a network of warriors who need to remember who they are. And whether you choose to sow a seed today or not, please know this from the depths of my heart. I am profoundly grateful for you. Your time, your attention, your faith, and your presence here mean more than you could ever imagine. They echo in eternity. They move angels into position, and they prepare the ground for miracles you haven't even dared to dream yet. So thank you for being here, for listening, for opening your spirit to receive this message. Today is not just another moment. It is a prophetic invitation into the next level of your destiny. The question remains, will you step into it? God's chosen ones, July 7th, 2025. Your new surprise, only 1%. Now, chosen one, let me show you why this message has found you at this exact moment, why your heart is racing, why your spirit is trembling with a quiet finally, even before you know the full picture. Can you feel that? It's not just curiosity, it's a deep spiritual knowing that you've been waiting for this confirmation your whole life. You have endured the fire, not because God abandoned you, but because He was refining you like pure gold. You walked through valleys so dark and nameless that you questioned if God even knew your name, not because you were forsaken, but because you were hidden for a divine purpose. All those seasons when you felt invisible, overlooked, and passed by, they were not signs that you weren't chosen, but that your appointed time had not yet arrived until now. The 7th of July is more than a date. It is the divine line separating your spiritual winter from your supernatural harvest. You have been crying out for a breakthrough, and let me be clear, it's no longer on the way, it's here. It has been hovering around you like a divine eagle, and now it's landing. You asked God for a sign. This is it. Will you receive it? Will you stay open enough to see what heaven has already orchestrated for you? Why have you felt like you were fighting silent wars no one else could even acknowledge? Why do your victories feel like they cost pieces of your soul? Why are you exhausted in places deeper than sleep could ever touch? These battles didn't leave scars on your skin, they left bruises on your soul. And you, chosen one, you know this language too well. You have been fighting in an invisible arena, trying to hold your visible world together while your spiritual world was under siege. You outlived relationships you thought would last forever. You buried dreams that once lit your nights with excitement. You became the stronghold for your family, the hidden intercessor whose prayers no one saw, but everyone benefited from. But even your warrior knees have begun to buckle, and your once fiery faith feels like a heavy stone you can barely lift. In those private, raw moments when no one is watching, when no one asks how you're really doing, you've whispered the question you fear most: God, is this it? Is this all there is? Did I miss my divine appointment? Chosen one, let me tell you a truth that will shake you and set you free. What if every delay in your life was not a punishment, but a divine shield? What if God's silence wasn't abandonment, but the greatest act of protection? What if every closed door and unanswered prayer were not rejections, but redirections towards something so holy your mind couldn't even imagine it yet? You see, the enemy has been working overtime to poison your faith, telling you your best days are gone, that you're too old, too worn out, too shattered to ever be used for something magnificent. He's whispered that you missed your chance, that miracles are for other people, that God plays favorites and you are not on the list. But let me break his lie right now. The fact that you're still standing, still breathing, still holding on, even if by a single fragile thread, is not luck or accident. It is divine preservation. God has been keeping you alive for July 7th, 2025. Do you hear that? He has reserved this moment for you, and no demon in hell can steal it. Think of Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison, hidden from the world, yet when he emerged, he carried a mantle that changed an entire nation. Or Oprah Winfrey, who survived unimaginable childhood trauma and was overlooked in her early career, yet rose to become a global voice of influence and healing. Remember Joseph in the Bible, betrayed by his brothers and thrown into prison, only to be elevated to the palace at the perfect time. David too hid in caves while Saul sat on the throne, crying out in Psalm 13, "How long, Lord? Will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me?" And yet David became the king whose lineage gave us Christ himself. Every cave season was training for the crown. Every tear in private was watering seeds for a public harvest. Can you see now? While you were crying, God was building. While you were lonely, heaven was mobilizing angels on your behalf. While you doubted, the throne room was echoing your name. The Apostle Paul writes in Ephesians 6:12, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age." This is not poetic theory, this is your lived experience. This is why you have felt as if you're always swimming upstream while everyone else floats effortlessly downstream. This is why you've been on the edge of breakthrough but felt like it slipped just beyond your fingertips. But here's the game changer. The same spiritual realm that once resisted you is now commanded to release your blessing. The same forces that delayed your destiny are now about to deliver it. The same enemy who tried to sabotage you will soon be forced to watch you step into your appointed victory. Why do you think you still feel that stirring hope that refuses to die, even when logic screams that it's over? Why does your spirit still rise up, even when your mind wants to surrender? That is not naive optimism. It is prophetic awareness. Your spirit knows something your mind hasn't fully caught yet. The war is ending, chosen one, not because you're surrendering, but because you're about to upgrade your armor, not because your enemies have grown tired, but because heaven has dispatched reinforcements in your favor, not because the path is suddenly smooth, but because you're about to realize you were always fighting from victory, not for it. Consider Malala Yousafzai, shot for speaking out, yet rose to become a global symbol of education and courage. Or Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times before finally illuminating the world with his light bulb. He kept going when others would have quit. These examples are mirrors for you, chosen one. Do you see your reflection in them? Can you feel the weight of your hidden training and the power of your survival? Romans 8:18 promises, "I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us." And Isaiah 40:31 reminds us, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles." Now, chosen one, do you finally see why you had to wait? Do you understand why you felt alone? Do you realize why it felt so hard? It wasn't because you were forsaken. It was because you were being fortified for a day such as this. July 7th, 2025 is not an ordinary date. It is your divine announcement. It is the day your silent suffering turns into unstoppable glory. Get ready. The universe is aligning, heaven is opening, and your spirit is about to catch up with the victory that has already been written for you. If you've ever found yourself whispering in the dark, "God, do you still see me?" Write that down right now in the comments. Engage with this moment and watch how heaven answers you in ways that will blow your mind. Because what I'm about to reveal next is going to shake every lie, break every chain, and prove beyond doubt that God has not only been watching you, but He has been orchestrating every detail of your invisible battles to set you up for a visible, undeniable victory. The enemy thought he was draining your strength, but God was actually strengthening your spirit. The enemy thought he was stealing your years, but God was investing them, multiplying their value for a divine moment that has a precise date on it, the 7th of July. Can you sense the weight of that? Do you feel the trembling in your soul that something bigger than you've ever imagined is on its way? Before I unfold what that day holds for you, you must grasp a revelation that will forever change the lens through which you see your life. Listen closely, because this is not just another inspirational phrase. This is a divine blueprint for your next chapter. July 7th, 2025 is not a random date marked on some cosmic calendar. It is a spiritual countdown, a divine alarm that has been ticking since before your very first heartbeat. Something magnificent has been forming in the heavens with your name on it. A blessing, a mantle, a new mission that only you, chosen one, can carry. Have you ever questioned why society pushes the idea that your best years are behind you, that grey hair equals irrelevance, that retirement means you fade into silence? Let me drop a truth bomb on you. You may have retired from worldly pursuits, but your spiritual assignment is just now clocking in. The world might say you're past your prime, but in heaven's eyes you are only now stepping into it. Do you feel that deep stirring that refuses to let you rest? That's your spirit aligning with your true destiny. Consider Abraham. At 75, God didn't say, "You're too old for new adventures." He said, "Get up, pack your bags, we're just beginning." At 100 years old, when Sarah's womb seemed utterly lifeless, Isaac was born, the child of promise, the miracle that would carry the seed of nations. Imagine that. Moses was 80 when God called him out of a quiet, hidden life to stand before Pharaoh and lead millions to freedom. In today's standards, they would have given him a rocking chair and called it a day. But God handed him a staff, ignited a flame in a bush, and declared, "Now you're ready." And think of Anna, the prophetess, advanced in age, a widow, a figure many would have ignored. But when Mary and Joseph brought baby Jesus to the temple, it wasn't the young popular priests who recognized him. It was Anna. She saw beyond the surface, beyond the veil, because her eyes were seasoned in spiritual vigilance. Are you beginning to see the pattern? The later years are often the years of greatest impact. There is a reason your story didn't end at chapter 12, because chapter 13 is where the real oil flows. It's where the supernatural breaks through and transforms the natural. It's where decades of hidden obedience make sudden sense. Have you noticed lately that your spirit feels restless, as if it's waiting for something monumental? Have you wondered why sleep doesn't soothe you the way it used to? Why your nights are filled with questions and unexpected surges of hope? That's because your internal clock is syncing with heaven's timeline. Your soul knows what your conscious mind has yet to fully grasp, that every heartbreak, every delay, every closed door has been divine training for the day heaven reveals your true assignment. The enemy has worked tirelessly to make you feel outdated, using your children's successes to make you question your relevance, using your physical changes to mock your spiritual strength, using society's obsession with youth to push you into invisibility. But hear this loud and clear. Satan will never understand that God's most powerful warriors are forged in the fires of experience and loss. Look at Colonel Sanders, who started KFC at 65 after many failures, or Vera Wang, who designed her first wedding dress at 40 and built a global empire afterward, or even Stan Lee, who published his first big comic book hit at 39 and went on to create legends that impacted generations. These stories are not just nice examples, they are prophetic reflections of your own hidden potential. Romans 8:28 reminds us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." Isaiah 46:4 promises, "Even to your old age and grey hairs I am he who will sustain you." Psalm 92:14 boldly declares, "They will still bear fruit in old age, they will stay fresh and green." And Job 42:12 shows us that the Lord blessed the latter part of Job's life more than the former part. Can you see it, chosen one? God has been setting you up for a harvest that only maturity can handle. You have survived storms that would have broken others. You've said final goodbyes at gravesides and still lifted your hands in worship. You've seen cherished dreams crumble and yet found the courage to dream again. You have watched the years slip by without visible fruit and yet clung to promises with trembling faith. Do you really believe God brought you through all of this just to have you retire into irrelevance? You were being prepared for a transference of spiritual authority, a passing of mantles, a generational shift in the spirit realm. And do you know who is chosen to receive this? You, yes you, the one they discounted, the one they labeled too old, too late, too broken. July 7th, 2025 is not just a day, it is a divine doorway into your reaping season. You have sown in tears long enough. You have prayed with hands that shook, watered visions you thought had died, and now finally it is time to gather. And beloved, harvest time doesn't depend on young backs. It requires wise hands that can discern real fruit from temporary flowers. Your children and grandchildren are about to witness a new authority rise in you. Your community will finally see that the one they underestimated holds the keys to their next breakthrough. The real question isn't whether God can still use you, it's whether you're willing to embrace the immensity of what He's about to release through you. Let me reveal to you, chosen one, who you really are. Not the diluted version the world has tried to force-feed you, not the identity shaped by your wounds or the labels others stuck on you when they didn't understand your depth, but the pure divine truth that's been buried under years of disappointment and deferred hope. You are part of the 1%. But don't mistake this for some earthly club of wealth or fame. No, this is a far rarer, holier category. The true 1% are those who refuse to give up, even when every logical reason pointed towards surrender. The true 1% are those who still dared to believe in healing after holding cold hands at a hospital bed for the last time. They are the ones who continued to pray when heaven felt silent as brass, who kept worshipping alone in the wilderness, who kept believing for a miracle even when their entire reality screamed, "It's over." You're not here watching this by chance. You didn't stumble into this message out of curiosity. You are here because heaven still has you on assignment, and that assignment is about to be ignited in a way that will shake every realm around you. Let me give you undeniable evidence of who you are. You have sensed things before they unfolded, haven't you? You've carried that unexplainable knowing deep in your gut, hours or even days before things happened. You've walked into rooms and instantly felt the spiritual atmosphere shift like a cold breeze. You've encountered people and perceived their true intentions before they opened their mouths. That's not mere intuition, that's spiritual intelligence, a gift many will never understand. As 1 Corinthians 2:14 says, "The person without the Spirit does not accept the things that come from the Spirit of God, but considers them foolishness." But you, chosen one, you've been operating in this spiritual discernment your entire life, even if you didn't have the words to define it. How many times have you found yourself burdened by prayers for people who never asked? How many nights have you interceded for situations that seemed so far removed from your own life? You thought it was just compassion or emotional sensitivity, but God was molding you into an intercessor, a spiritual wrecking ball designed to tear down barriers and make a way for others. This is why your life has been marked by battles that others can't see or even imagine. This is why rejection clung to you like a shadow, because the enemy recognized the threat you posed long before you recognized your own power. He's been after you not because of who you were in the past, but because of the warrior you are about to become. Think about Harriet Tubman, who despite her own chains and scars, went back again and again to rescue others, guided by a divine knowing no map could chart. Or Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who stood against Nazi tyranny, carrying burdens that most pastors wouldn't dare touch. Or Joan of Arc, a teenage girl who felt God's call so strongly that she changed the course of nations and paid with her life. Even modern figures like Chadwick Boseman, who carried heavy physical battles silently while portraying roles that inspired millions. These are glimpses of what it means to operate as the 1%. Hebrews 12:4 reminds us, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us." Can you see that you are running this race not alone but among giants? But here's what will shake you to the core. Every tear, every "why me?" whispered into the darkness, every season of silence, none of it was ever just about you receiving blessings. You weren't chosen just to receive, you were chosen to become. Do you grasp the magnitude of that? You are not just a destination where grace stops. You are a conduit through which it flows. You are not simply a receiver, you are a releaser, a spiritual delivery system heaven trusts to carry breakthrough into the earth. The 7th of July is not about you just getting a gift. It's about God unlocking you as the gift. This is why the preparation has been brutal, why the testing has felt endless, why the fire felt hotter than you thought you could withstand. God doesn't hand nuclear-level authority to spiritual infants. He doesn't entrust powerful mantles to those who haven't learned the weight of sacrifice. You have been in the furnace, not to be destroyed, but to be refined, strengthened, purified and calibrated to handle a spiritual force that can shift bloodlines, communities, and even nations. Jesus said in Luke 12:48, "From everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded." You have been entrusted with spiritual sight beyond your years, with discernment sharp enough to pierce through the fog of deception, with a capacity to hold heaven's vibration in your very being. Now heaven is about to ask for a return on that investment. Are you ready for that kind of responsibility? Because the 7th of July isn't just about receiving something you've been waiting for. It's about stepping into a mantle that will stretch you beyond your imagination and call forth every lesson you learned in your hidden seasons. You see, the true 1% understand what the masses never will. That breakthrough is not simply about acquiring something external, but about becoming someone internal. It's about embodying transformation so real and raw that when others encounter you, they are confronted with the presence of God without a single word spoken. Your pain was never meaningless. Your isolation was never divine neglect. It was all preparation for an authority that only suffering and intimate knowledge of divine timing could birth. Psalm 66:10 says, "For you, God, tested us. You refined us like silver." And Isaiah 43:20 promises, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned." Can you feel this revelation igniting your spirit? Are you truly ready, chosen one, to uncover what heaven has been meticulously preparing for you since the very beginning? Listen closely now, because what I'm about to share may sound impossible. That is, until it starts happening in your life. Even as you read these words, rooms are being prepared where your name is being spoken with reverence and expectation. Conversations are taking place in boardrooms, hospital hallways, law offices, and in divine councils beyond your imagination. And by the 7th of July, the invitation will arrive at your door. But here's what most people never grasp about divine surprises. They don't come crashing in with fireworks and grand parades. No, they arrive quietly, softly, almost hidden, like a gentle breeze on an ordinary Tuesday morning. They slip in disguised as coincidences, wrapped in what looks like luck but covered in the fingerprints of eternity. You've been asking God when, and He's been saying soon. But chosen one, the 7th of July is the moment when soon finally becomes now. Can you feel it pulsing in your spirit? Let me show you the divine blueprint that is already unfolding around you. Your surprise won't be a single dramatic event. It will come in waves, in phases, like a heavenly symphony, each movement building upon the last to reveal the masterpiece God has been orchestrating for you. Phase 1, the financial release. There is a divine shift happening over your finances, not as a lottery win from the sky, but as wisdom cloaked in divine opportunities. Proverbs 13:22 says, "The wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous." For years, resources have been set aside in heavenly accounts, guarded and multiplied by a God who remembers every promise. By July 7, a door will open. It could be an unexpected check in the mail, a debt miraculously cleared, or a new opportunity that pays you for talents and wisdom others have overlooked. But here's what you must grasp deeply. God isn't just giving you money to enrich you. He's positioning you as a distributor of His abundance. You are not just going to receive a blessing, you are becoming one. Phase 2, divine reconnection. Someone is either returning to your life or entering it for the first time, but this isn't casual, this is sacred orchestration. God has been working behind the scenes, aligning hearts and weaving destinies across years and continents to bring you together at the precise moment. This connection carries keys to doors you didn't know existed, keys to healing you thought was impossible, keys to dreams you buried in the cemetery of disappointment. When Jesus said in Matthew 18:19, "If two of you agree on earth about anything they ask, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven," he was speaking about these divine alignments, not surface friendships. Imagine this: that person has been praying for someone exactly like you at the same time you've been praying for breakthrough. Your paths are converging on God's timeline, not yours. Isn't that breathtaking? Phase 3, health restoration. For some of you, July 7 will mark the beginning of physical healing so radical that doctors will call it a miracle or spontaneous remission. Others will experience an emotional and mental freedom so powerful that therapists will struggle to find the words, but you will know the source. Isaiah 53:5 declares, "By his wounds we are healed. What's been assaulting your body has already lost its battle. What's been tormenting your mind has been fighting a losing war against your destiny. You are God's property, and divine property cannot stay broken. Your cells are about to remember their original divine blueprint. Your thoughts are about to align with heaven's frequency. But the most powerful part, your healing isn't just for you. Someone is watching you closely. Your comeback is going to birth hope in them. Your healing will become the ignition of their revival. You are about to become a living testimony that preaches louder than any sermon." Phase 4, legacy impact. This is the phase where your surprise breaks free from the boundaries of your lifetime and stretches into eternity. Your grandchildren, both born and unborn, are about to inherit something that money can't buy, a spiritual inheritance that shifts generations. Deuteronomy 7:9 says, "Know therefore that the Lord your God is God. He is the faithful God, keeping his covenant of love to 1,000 generations." You thought you were merely surviving storms, but God was using every storm to carve out a legacy so potent that your name will carry spiritual weight in heavenly places. Every whispered prayer in the midnight hour, every silent tear, every courageous choice to trust God when fear would have been easier, all of it has been stored up, recorded in heaven's vault, ready to be poured out as a generational blessing. Your breakthrough isn't just for you, it's breaking the chains over your entire bloodline. But here's the question that should shake your soul awake. What if everything you've endured wasn't about you getting something, but about you becoming someone? What if your pain wasn't a punishment, but a platform? What if your test was the soil where your testimony would take root and grow into a tree that shelters many? July 7 isn't coming because you earned it. It's coming because you endured. You didn't abandon ship when it made sense. You didn't give up when it felt like the only logical escape. You stayed, and heaven took notice. Right now, I want you to do something powerful. Not type it, but write it by hand. July 7. God, I receive. That's not just ink on paper, that's a covenant agreement. That is your signature on a spiritual contract, your expectation colliding with God's intention. When the chosen ones align their expectation with God's timing, miracles no longer hide, they manifest. But let me warn you, chosen one. Have you noticed that just when you're on the brink of something great, everything around you seems to fall apart? That right before the answer is about to arrive, hell itself seems to explode in your life. You're not losing your mind, you're not cursed, and you're certainly not forgotten. Just before a seed breaks through the soil, it faces its greatest resistance. The earth above it presses down hardest, the darkness becomes heaviest, the struggle intensifies. That pressure doesn't come to kill the seed, it comes to force the breakthrough. Right now, you are that seed. July 7 is your divine emergence. Take a hard look at your life these last few months. Friends vanishing, family turning cold, trusted voices questioning your sanity. Does it sound familiar? Genesis 37 shows us that Joseph's own brothers threw him into a pit because they couldn't handle his favor. The closer Joseph got to his dream, the more his own family opposed him. Your isolation isn't a rejection, it's a selection. God is removing those who can't handle where you're going. Because the blessing of July 7 is so holy, so explosive, only pure vessels can be around it. And sometimes becoming pure means standing alone. Your body feels exhausted. You wake up weary. You go to sleep even more tired. The tests say you're fine, but your soul feels like it's been through a war. That's because it has. Ephesians 6:12 warns us, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. The enemy isn't attacking you because you're weak. He's attacking you because you're a threat. He's not worried about someone who's going nowhere. He unleashes his worst attacks on those standing at the edge of breakthrough. You're not being hit hard because you're about to triumph. Remember Hannah in 1 Samuel. She prayed so passionately for a child that Eli thought she was drunk. Year after year she was ridiculed, yet she pressed on. God wasn't ignoring her. He was preparing her to birth Samuel, a prophet who would shift a nation. Your prayers have not gone unheard. They have been bricks in the foundation of your upcoming miracle. When your breakthrough arrives, it won't just transform your life. It will impact your family line, your community, and even generations you will never meet. Right now, you are in spiritual labor. Every intense moment, every tear, every sleepless night, these are your contractions before the birth of a promise. Just like a woman in labor, you cannot reverse it or pause it. The pain isn't a sign of death, it's a sign of life. The miracle is coming, whether you feel ready or not. The divine surprise is landing on July 7, and nothing can stop it. This is what separates the 1% from the rest. The 1% understand that the pressure before the breakthrough isn't optional, it is required. David had to face Goliath before the crown. Moses had to wander before deliverance. Jesus had to endure the cross before resurrection. Your Goliath isn't your end, it's your graduation test. So I ask you now, chosen one, will you let the pressure break you, or will you let it break you through? Everything falling apart around you is only making space for the divine promise to fall into place. And on July 7, you will finally see why you had to walk through hell to reach heaven. The only question left is, will you be ready to receive what has been fighting so fiercely to reach you? Chosen one, we have arrived at sacred ground, the holy intersection where revelation transforms into activation, where knowing turns into doing, where your spirit stops waiting on promises and starts witnessing their fulfillment. Have you ever considered that every hardship you survived wasn't random? What if every panic-stricken night, when anxiety gripped your chest and you wondered if you would ever see the morning, was divine training? What if every time you cried out to God and only heard silence, He was fortifying your spiritual muscles for a battle you couldn't yet see? Every time you watched others succeed while your own dreams turned to ashes, what if that wasn't rejection but preparation? The Apostle Paul captured this mystery perfectly in 2 Corinthians 4:8. We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair. Paul wasn't talking about simply surviving, he was talking about being prepared, being compressed into something more precious than gold, a diamond. You see, most people believe that breakthrough is something that happens to them externally, a job offer, a healed relationship, a financial windfall. But what if I told you that your true breakthrough has been inside you all along, waiting for your agreement to activate it? For decades, maybe 70, maybe 80 years, you've carried the heavy weight of other people's expectations. You have lived your life according to their timelines, their definitions of success, their tiny limited views of what God can do. But the 7th of July marks the end of that slavery, the final chapter of performing for a stage that was never yours to begin with. Can you imagine what it would feel like to live not for applause but for alignment? What if your breakthrough isn't in the world around you but in the world within you, simply waiting for your yes? This is the crucial point where so many miss their moment. They beg God to change their circumstances, while God is asking them to change their perspective. They pray for doors to open when God has already opened one and is waiting for them to step through it. They ask for signs while ignoring the biggest sign of all, the persistent fire in their spirit that refuses to die no matter how many storms come. Jeremiah 29, verse often recited, but rarely understood in its full context, says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." But we forget that this promise was spoken to people in exile, people who thought God had abandoned them. Does that sound familiar? Your exile is ending, chosen one, not because your external life has suddenly improved, but because your spirit is finally ready to receive what God ordained for you before you took your first breath. The miracle coming on July 7 isn't flying toward you from the sky, it is erupting from within you like a long dormant volcano, awakening to its true power. Even now, as you read these words, something is shifting in the spiritual realm. Can you sense it? That tingling in your chest, that sudden rush of awareness, that feeling that time is folding in on itself. That's not anxiety. That's alignment. That's your spirit recognizing heaven's footsteps approaching. You've spent years asking God, when will my season come? But all along, God has been asking, when will you step into the season I already prepared for you? The difference between these two questions is everything. The difference between surviving and thriving, between merely existing and truly living, between endlessly hoping and finally possessing. Isaiah 61 commands, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." Notice it doesn't say will come, it says has come. Present tense. Your light isn't crawling toward you from some distant future. It's already here, waiting for you to stop hiding behind disappointments and step fully into your divine brilliance. But here's the terrifying, yet liberating truth. You can no longer stay neutral. July 7 is a divine deadline, a line in the sand drawn by heaven itself. This is the moment when heaven stops waiting and starts moving. You will either align with what God is releasing or remain stuck in the safety of your old struggles. The enemy has been whispering in your ear for years. You're too old, too broken, too late. God moved on to someone better. Every whisper was a calculated attempt to keep you from this sacred moment of activation. Romans 8:28 declares, "And we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose." All things, not just your victories but your failures, not just your praises but your betrayals, not just your promotions but your demotions, the heartbreaks that taught you discernment, the losses that forced you to your knees, the seasons of loneliness that drove you deeper into his presence. All of it was orchestrating this exact moment. Your breakthrough is not around you, it's within you, waiting for your total agreement. Agreement doesn't just mean saying yes with your lips. It means aligning your entire being, your expectations, your timelines, your self-worth with God's eternal plan. It means finally believing that when God chose you, he made no mistake. The spirit of alignment is flowing through this message like a river of fire, reaching through your screen and igniting dormant embers in your soul. This isn't mere motivation, this is activation. This isn't comfort, this is commissioning. I speak over your life right now. Clarity is coming. The fog that has suffocated your vision for years is evaporating. Strength is rising. The weakness that made you question your purpose is transforming into supernatural fortitude. July 7 is your appointed moment. You will not miss it. Your spirit is being tuned to recognize heaven's move like a radio catching a divine frequency. But be warned, the enemy will fight you harder in these coming days than ever before. Why? Because he knows what you're about to step into. He will send distractions, discouragements, delays, anything to keep you from aligning. Are you going to let him win again? Or are you finally ready to step fully into what has been yours all along? It breaks my heart when I hear chosen ones say, "I feel invisible, forgotten, like I was never picked." Beloved, listen closely. What you called rejection, heaven called protection. What you named delay, God labeled divine timing. What you saw as hiding, God called holiness. There's a reason that job didn't work out. There's a reason that relationship dissolved. There's a reason you felt hidden behind the curtain while others performed on stage. You weren't overlooked because you weren't worthy. You were hidden because you were too holy to be exposed too soon. Look at Elizabeth in Luke 1:24. After she conceived John the Baptist, she stayed in seclusion, not because she was ashamed, but because she carried something world-changing. Hidden but holy, hidden but healing, hidden but held. Imagine the moments you thought you were overlooked. What if God whispered to a hiring manager, "Not yet, this one carries something too great"? Or when a relationship ended abruptly, what if heaven said, "Move them out, my child is being reserved for something greater"? The same God who hid Moses in the cleft of the rock, Exodus 33:20, has hidden you, not from blessing, but until the blessing. Isaiah 49:2 says, "He made me into a polished arrow and concealed me in his quiver." Hidden but holy, hidden but healing, hidden but held. But here's what will set your spirit on fire. While you were hidden, you weren't stagnant. You weren't wasting time. God was depositing revelations into your spirit that could never be received in the noise of the spotlight. Think of Moses on Sinai, hidden for 40 days, only to return radiant with God's glory. Think of Jesus in the tomb for 3 days, hidden but emerging with resurrection power. In your hidden years, what do you think has been forming inside you? Every tear, every whispered prayer, every closed door wasn't punishment. It was sacred preparation. forging you into a vessel of unstoppable glory, hidden but holy, hidden but healing, hidden but held. And now, chosen one, heaven is calling you out of the shadows. Are you ready to rise? You want to know why you've felt different your entire life, chosen one. Why you never fully fit in, no matter how hard you tried. Why your road has been winding, more challenging, more solitary than others. It's because you are not ordinary, and ordinary people don't get hidden by God. Ordinary people don't get the veil treatment. Ordinary people don't receive divine concealment. You were given the veil because you carry something extraordinary inside of you. The enemy has tried to deceive you into thinking that your hiddenness was a punishment, a sign of God's disapproval. But I'm here to rip that lie out of your spirit and replace it with the unshakable truth. Your hiddenness has been evidence of God's favor. The most precious treasures are always kept in secret places. The most valuable jewels are hidden away until the right moment, until the right buyer appears. David was hidden in the fields with sheep before he stood before Goliath. Joseph was hidden in prison before he ruled over Egypt. Esther was hidden in the palace before she saved her people. Even Jesus was hidden in Nazareth for 30 years before he revealed himself to the world. And you have been hidden in the crucible of preparation, in the furnace of character refinement, in the quiet classroom of divine instruction, hidden but holy, hidden but healing, hidden but held. But now, everything is about to change. The 7th of July 2025 isn't just another date on your calendar, it's your divine unveiling. It's the day the veil is finally torn back, the day the curtain opens, the day what has been concealed is revealed in full glory. Can you feel it in your spirit? That tremor, that stirring, that isn't anxiety, it's anticipation. Your spirit recognizes the sound of the veil tearing. The same God who covered you is about to highlight you. The same hand that shielded you is about to uncover his plan for your life. Your season of seclusion is ending. Your time of concealment is over. You've been like Elizabeth, hidden and waiting, but your moment to step forward and declare, "This is what the Lord has done for me," is almost here. You've been like Moses, hidden under God's hand, but now you're coming down from the mountain with a radiant glow that no one will be able to ignore. The veil didn't hide you because you weren't ready. It protected you until you were. And now, finally, you are ready for divine revelation, hidden but holy, hidden but healing, hidden but held, and now, about to be revealed. Before that revelation bursts forth, there's something you must understand about what you've been carrying. It's a revelation that will crush every lie you've ever believed about your pain. Every promise from God is delivered through a womb, and every womb feels like a grave before it feels like a gateway. You thought you were dying, but you were actually being born. Let this sink in. That breakdown you had last December, when you couldn't even form the words to pray, that wasn't abandonment. That moment when you sat in your car, contemplating if you could keep going because heaven felt so silent, that wasn't God turning his back on you. That was hell's last desperate attempt to stop you because you were crowning. The enemy saw what was being born through your womb of waiting, and he panicked. There's a spiritual law that most believers never learn. Right before breakthrough comes the crowning crisis. It's that moment when the head appears and the mother feels she can't push any longer, when her body screams, "I can't do this." But that is exactly when she is closest to holding her miracle. John 16:21 tells us, "A woman giving birth to a child has pain because her time has come, but when her baby is born, she forgets the anguish because of her joy that a child is born into the world." But here's what most don't tell you about spiritual birth. The labor pains are not just physical. They are relational, financial, emotional, mental. Everything that could break starts breaking right before the promise emerges. What if every betrayal was a contraction? What if every slammed door was your spiritual cervix dilating? What if every friend who vanished was simply clearing space for what God is about to push through you? Think about it. When a woman goes into labor, her body performs acts that seem violent and impossible. Bones shift, muscles tear, she bleeds, she screams, and yet those in the room encourage, "Push, don't stop, it's almost here." What if your depression wasn't a breakdown, but a breaking open? What if your anxiety wasn't fear, but a divine anticipation? What if your loneliness wasn't abandonment, but sacred isolation to protect you during your most vulnerable phase? Look at Sarah. She was 90 when she birthed Isaac. 90. Can you fathom those labor pains? Yet Genesis 21:2 says, Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham in his old age, at the very time God had promised him. Not early, not late, at the very time. Your pain has been precisely timed. Your struggle has been strategically placed. Your breakdown has been divinely orchestrated. What is coming on July 7 couldn't have come a day earlier. It required the full gestation period. Every hidden day was essential. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared. You weren't being rejected. You were being protected. The womb feels confining, but it is the safest place for a developing miracle. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before leading Israel out of Egypt. That wasn't a delay. It was divine development. Joseph spent 13 years between his prophetic dream and his position of power. 13 years of slavery, betrayal, and being forgotten. But Genesis 41:46 says Joseph was 30 when he began serving Pharaoh. The perfect age, the prepared age, the appointed age. You are not late. You are right on schedule. The closer you get to delivery, the more violent the contractions. That is why this past season has felt like unending warfare. That is why the enemy has attacked you from every angle, why you have questioned everything, doubted everyone, and wondered if God even knows your name. He does, and he's been timing every single contraction. What if that betrayal was your water breaking? What if that devastating loss was the final contraction? What if that moment when you thought you could not take another step was God whispering in your soul, "Push, my child, push, I see the head, your miracle is crowning." Jeremiah 1:5 declares, "Before I formed you in the womb I knew you. Before you were born I set you apart." God has been forming something sacred in the womb of your waiting. He's been setting you apart in the darkness of your delay. And now, chosen one, it's time to push. The silence you felt wasn't God ignoring you, it was God focusing. When a woman is in active labor, the room gets quiet. The doctors stop small talk. The nurses stop shuffling papers. Every eye is fixed on the birth. Heaven has been silent because heaven has been focused. Angels have been assigned. Doors have been unlocked. Provision has been prepared. And your enemy, he has been celebrating too early. He thought your labor pains meant death, but they were your birth pangs. You're not dying. You're about to live in a way the world has never seen. Hidden but holy, hidden but healing, hidden but held, and now, finally, about to be revealed. Chosen one, do you remember that sacred, trembling moment in the temple when Jesus died? When the thick, towering veil that separated the Holy of Holies from the rest of the world was torn in two from top to bottom? That wasn't just fabric splitting. That was heaven's declaration that what had been hidden was now accessible, that the separation between divine presence and humanity was forever changed. Right now, in your life, that same God is reaching for your veil. You've been living under spiritual camouflage, protected and hidden, shrouded from eyes that weren't ready to witness the magnitude of what you carry. But hear me clearly, the 7th of July marks the end of that concealment. The same divine hand that tore the temple veil is about to pull the covering off of you. And when he does, everything will shift forever. But here's the part that most people never understand about divine revealing. It doesn't explode into your life in one big, obvious moment. It begins as whispers, subtle stirrings in your spirit that you can't even articulate to anyone else. Tell me, chosen one, have you started dreaming again? Not just nighttime dreams, but daytime visions that keep visiting you when you're wide awake. Ideas so audacious they terrify your logical mind, yet they refuse to let you rest. Plans so bold they make your current reality look like a tiny seed in comparison. That isn't your imagination spiraling. That is prophecy being downloaded straight into your spirit. God is revealing glimpses of what's ahead because he needs your spirit ready to carry its weight. And have you noticed how much clearer his voice has become? The whisper in your soul has grown louder than the chaos around you. You're sitting on your couch and suddenly feel an unexplainable urge to call someone. You're driving and a scripture drops into your mind so perfectly that it steals your breath. This isn't coincidence. This is divine calibration. Your spiritual frequency is being fine-tuned to pick up what heaven is about to broadcast. But here's the sign that will rattle you to your core. People are starting to notice you, and they can't even explain why. You walk into a room and suddenly conversations pause or shift. Not because you said anything, but because your very presence changes the atmosphere. Strangers are drawn to you in the grocery store, at the bank, in waiting rooms, pouring out secrets they've never shared before. And you're left wondering, why me? Why are they confiding in me? Because your light is intensifying, and light calls everything hidden out of the darkness. But chosen one, let me give you a sobering warning. When God reveals you and the cloak comes off, you will start to disrupt rooms without even opening your mouth. Your mere presence will trigger emotional and spiritual responses that will leave you speechless. You'll enter spaces you've always frequented, and people will suddenly act differently toward you. Some will be irresistibly drawn to you, others will inexplicably turn hostile, and you'll be tempted to think, what did I do wrong? But hear me, you didn't do anything wrong. You did exactly what God has prepared you to do. You changed. Your spiritual authority increased. Your anointing intensified. Your frequency now forces people to reveal where they stand. This is the dangerous edge, where the unprepared falter. When your light rises, darkness cannot stay passive. When your spiritual authority activates, demons that have lain dormant in people around you will awaken and respond. They won't hate you for something you said or did. They will hate you for what you carry. You spent years thinking that co-worker disliked you out of petty jealousy. You assumed that family member turned cold because of a misunderstanding. You thought your friend's betrayal was personal weakness, but now you are about to see the real truth. They weren't reacting to your personality. They were reacting to your anointing. The enemy has been using people as pawns, trying to dim the very light God has been brightening in you. Every character attack, every season of isolation, every seed of doubt planted in your mind, none of it was random. It was strategic warfare, because the enemy could see the storm of glory rising in you long before you could. On the 7th of July, the training wheels come off. You've been in spiritual boot camp for years. Every betrayal taught you to discern. Every rejection forged your independence. Every lonely night taught you to hear God's whisper above all noise. Every financial valley taught you your provision comes from heaven alone. But here's what will shock you. When your covering is removed, you'll realize you've been overqualified for this assignment for a long time. You've been ready. The delay wasn't because you weren't prepared. It was about divine timing. God has been watching the stage of the world, monitoring the spiritual climate, and waiting for the exact moment your light would have maximum impact. And that moment is now. You're about to understand that every piece of your story, every heartbreak, every loss, every betrayal was not breaking you but making you. Every person who walked out wasn't robbing you but making room for divine replacements. Every closed door wasn't rejection but redirection towards something immeasurably greater. But the real question is this: when the cloak comes off, when the world starts to see you through heaven's lens, will you shrink back or will you step forward? Because once this unveiling begins, there is no return to invisibility. Once your light burns at full power, you cannot dim it to make others comfortable again. Once your authority is activated, you can no longer pretend to be small. The world is about to encounter the real you, the you that heaven has always seen. So let me ask you the most important question of all. Are you ready to finally meet yourself? Chosen one, let me tell you something that will shake you to your core and echo in your spirit long after you finish reading this. The 1% I'm talking about, they aren't the ones with the fattest bank accounts or the biggest mansions on Fifth Avenue. They aren't the influencers with millions of followers or the politicians wielding earthly power. The real 1% are the readiest, the ones who can carry fire without being consumed, the ones who have walked through hell and come out holding heaven's glory. Everyone wants the blessing. Everyone cries out for the breakthrough. Everyone dreams of God flipping their script overnight. But here's the hidden truth that they don't tell you in the easy feel-good sermons. Glory isn't a gift, it's a responsibility, and most people simply cannot handle it. Look at King David, anointed as a young teenager, but he didn't sit on the throne for 15 long years. Why? Because God knew that the crown could either purify or corrupt him, and the only way to know which was to test him first in the wilderness. Do you really think those 15 years were wasted? Do you think God forgot about his promise? No, beloved. God was asking David the same piercing question he's asking you right now. Can you carry glory without letting it corrupt you? Because here's the brutal, soul-cutting truth. Most people fail this test. Many can handle a little favor, but they lose themselves. They get a taste of recognition and suddenly forget their roots. They celebrate a small victory and start acting like they built the entire kingdom on their own strength. But you, chosen one, you've been in a different kind of training. Every betrayal you endured taught you unwavering loyalty. Every door that slammed in your face built your patience. Every night you cried alone, wondering if anyone could see your pain, taught you to depend solely on God. You've been enrolled in God's boot camp all along, even when you didn't realize it. And now, the question becomes, can you stay humble when you're finally seen, when the spotlight turns on you, when your name gets whispered in rooms you've never entered, when doors you once only prayed about start opening wide? Will you remember who carried you? Can you love without bitterness? When God elevates you above those who laughed at your dreams, who left you for dead, who gossiped behind your back, will you reach down to lift them up, or will you trample them under your feet on your way to the top? Can you rise without revenge, when the very ones who rejected you come knocking, when those who closed their hearts to you start calling for help? Will you answer with grace or with a hidden grudge? This is the silent war that divides the 1% from everyone else. Because glory isn't just about what you receive, it's about who you become while receiving it. Look at Joseph in Genesis, betrayed and sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, forgotten in prison for years. But when Pharaoh finally called him up, Joseph didn't enter the palace with pride. He walked in clothed in humility and anointing, and when his brothers appeared years later, terrified and vulnerable, Joseph had every right and all the power to destroy them. But instead, he uttered words that echo through eternity. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. That is what 1% thinking looks like. That is what carrying glory with clean hands feels like. And here's a prophecy-laced warning you must swallow deeply. The glory is coming. The 7th of July is real. The breakthrough is real. The elevation is real. But if you touch it with dirty hands, it will destroy you. Saul was anointed king, but he couldn't handle the weight. He allowed jealousy to eat at him when David's victories outshone his own. He let paranoia replace faith, and the same anointing that could have blessed him became the very thing that cursed him. Solomon, the wisest man to ever live, had riches and fame that made the world envious. But over time, he started to believe it was about him. He compromised, worshipped foreign gods to appease his many wives, and the man who once declared the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom ended as a cautionary tale, a testimony of how blessing without character leads to ruin. This is why God has been testing you in secret. This is why he allowed every fake friend to walk away, every toxic relationship to end, every comfortable setup to crumble. He's been preparing you to carry something so heavy it would crush the unprepared. This is a glory that cannot be performed. It must be carried. You cannot fake humility when you walk in true authority. You cannot pretend to love people when your power is real. You can't act humble. You must become humble. The difference between the 99% and the 1% isn't talent, isn't influence, isn't even faith. It's character. It's the ability to hold divine favor without letting it poison your heart. It's the strength to remain gentle when you have the power to be harsh. It's the wisdom to understand that every good and perfect gift is from above and can be taken away in an instant if mishandled. So I'm asking you today, chosen one, are you truly ready for this test? Because what's coming on the 7th of July is not merely going to change your circumstances, it's going to reveal your character to the entire spiritual realm. Heaven and hell alike will be watching to see what you do with what's about to be released over your life. The clock is ticking, the final exam is on the horizon. Every fire you've walked through, every valley you've crawled out of, every betrayal that tried to bury you, it has all been preparing you for this moment of truth. Will you carry the glory, or will the glory carry you away? Can you hear it? That sound like ancient cloth being torn from something sacred, hidden for generations. That's the sound of your spiritual unveiling, the sound of heaven declaring, enough hiding, it's time. You've been under a veil, chosen one, not because you were unworthy, but because you were too valuable to be revealed before the appointed time. And that time, finally, is now. Look back at your life. Think about what you've survived. Heartbreaks that should have dismantled your faith. Betrayals that could have turned your heart to stone. Illnesses that should have ended your story. Poverty that should have robbed you of all hope. Decades of silence when heaven felt closed, when prayers echoed into an abyss. And yet, here you are, still standing, still breathing, still believing. Do you know what that makes you? Indestructible, not because of your strength, but by divine design. The enemy tried every tactic to destroy you because he saw what was coming. He knew July 7th was circled on heaven's calendar. He knew your emergence would break curses, heal bloodlines, and wake up sleeping destinies all around you. So he threw his fiercest storms at you. But he failed, because what God preserves, no power in hell can annihilate. You haven't just been surviving, chosen one. You've been refined. Every tear you shed was collected in heaven's bottle. Every prayer you whispered in the midnight hour was transcribed in God's record. Every time you almost gave up but chose to stand one more day, it built a spiritual resilience that few will ever understand. You've been forged in fires that would have reduced others to ashes. You've trekked through valleys so dark, even the angels held their breath watching you. You endured nights so lonely that even demons thought you wouldn't make it. But you did. You're here, and that's not coincidence. That's prophecy fulfilled. Isaiah 61 commands, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." This isn't a gentle suggestion, it's a divine directive. Your light isn't coming someday, it's here. It has been gathering pressure in the depths of your life, like magma waiting to break through. July 7th is the day of eruption. You felt it, haven't you? That unexplainable stirring, that buzzing beneath your ribs, that sense that something gigantic is about to shift. Your spirit has heard the approaching footsteps of destiny long before your mind could comprehend it. The spiritual atmosphere around you has shifted frequencies. What once felt heavy and restrictive now feels charged and alive with new possibilities. But listen closely, you weren't hidden to be merely protected, you were hidden to be preserved. There's a difference. Protection shields you from harm, preservation keeps you pure for a sacred purpose. Your purpose, beloved, has been maturing like the finest wine in the cellars of heaven, waiting for the perfect moment to be uncorked and poured out to a thirsty world. Think of Moses, hidden for 40 years in the wilderness while Israel groaned under Egyptian oppression. Was God delaying? Was he indifferent? No, he was molding a deliverer who could bear the immense responsibility of setting an entire nation free. Moses needed every moment in that wilderness to become the man who would stand before Pharaoh and shout, "Let my people go." Think of David, anointed as king, yet hunted like a criminal, hiding in caves. Was God forgetting his promise? No. God was chiseling a worshipping warrior, a psalmist king whose songs would comfort and guide generations yet unborn. Think of Jesus, 30 years hidden in Nazareth before stepping into a ministry that would transform eternity in just 3.5 years. 30 years of silent preparation for 3.5 years of explosive purpose. And you, chosen one, you have been in your hidden season. But that season is concluding. The world is finally ready for what you carry. The people assigned to your voice are finally positioned to receive it. You've been crying out, "God, when?" And he's been answering, "When you are strong enough to wield influence without it corrupting you, when you are pure enough to carry power without pride, when you are wise enough to manage blessing without becoming blind." Well, beloved, guess what? You've passed the test, every single one. The test of betrayal, when you chose forgiveness instead of vengeance. The test of provision, when you gave sacrificially, even when your own pockets were empty. The test of patience, when heaven went silent and you chose to worship anyway. You've been promoted in the spirit realm, and now, finally, earth is about to catch up to heaven's verdict. The 7th of July isn't just another date on your calendar, chosen one. It's the day when your spiritual covering will be pulled back. It's the day when everything that's been hidden in the shadows of preparation will finally stand in the light. It's the day when your light can no longer be contained, but must burst forth, illuminating every dark corner around you. But here's the deeper mystery that many fail to grasp about divine timing. When God declares that it's time for your emergence, everything shifts. Not just your circumstances, but your very capacity to carry what's coming. Not just the opportunities you've been dreaming of, but the influence to steward them well. Not just your provision, but the revelation of your true purpose. You are about to step into rooms you never applied to enter. You are about to be sought out by people who don't even know your name yet. You're about to carry solutions to problems you didn't even know existed. You're about to become the living, breathing miracle someone else has been crying out to God for in the middle of the night. The covering is coming off, chosen one. Your season of hiddenness is officially over. Your years of preparation, of tears sown in the darkness, of prayers whispered when no one was listening, they are complete. Your moment of emergence has arrived. Are you ready to step into the light that's been waiting for you since before you were born? Listen to me. What started in the womb of your mother's prayers is now being unveiled through the power of your presence. You thought you were waiting for a sign from God, but let me tell you the most shocking truth of all. You are the sign. For 70, 80, 90 years, many of you have believed that your best days were behind you. You listened to the enemy's whispers that your season had passed, that your purpose expired with your youth. But today I'm here to destroy that lie with the fire of God's truth. You are not a relic of the past. You are a divine weapon for the present. The whispered prayer of your grandchild in the dark, that's you. The healing your neighborhood desperately needs, that's you. The breakthrough your family has been crying out for in secret, that's you. You have been so focused on searching for a miracle that you didn't realize you survived everything to become the miracle. Think about Moses. At 80 years old, when the world would have labeled him too old, too slow, too late, God looked down and said, "Now you're ready." Exodus 7:7 tells us that Moses was 80 when he performed his first miracle before Pharaoh. His age wasn't a disqualification, it was his qualification, his divine diploma. You think you're too old. Moses liberated millions at 80. You think your time has passed. Abraham became a father of nations at 99. You think God has overlooked you. Anna the prophetess was 84 when she declared to all of Jerusalem that Jesus was the Messiah. Your wrinkles are not signs of defeat, they are medals of survival. Every gray hair is a trophy that screams, "I made it through what was meant to destroy me." Every ache in your bones is a testimony that shouts, "I'm still here, I'm still standing, I'm still believing." But here's what will revolutionize your understanding of the years ahead. You don't need another sign. You are the sign. You don't need another prophet to tell you you're chosen. You are the prophet your generation has been waiting for. You are not simply a bystander waiting for revival. You are the revival walking in flesh and bone. I can feel some of you resisting right now, saying, "But I'm just an ordinary person. I live in a small apartment. I collect social security. I take medication every day. How could I be anyone's miracle?" That is exactly the point. 1 Corinthians 1:27 declares, God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. Your ordinariness is not your limitation, it's your launching pad. Heaven specializes in using the unlikely to accomplish the impossible. That young nurse who treats you with extraordinary kindness, she's responding to the spirit in you. That neighbor who always finds you in times of trouble, they are drawn to the peace you radiate. That cashier who lights up every time you walk into the grocery store, she's encountering the gentle power of God in your smile. You have been walking around thinking you're just getting by, just surviving another day. But what if I told you that your very existence is disrupting darkness? What if I told you that your prayers are shifting spiritual atmospheres? What if your decades of quiet faithfulness have earned you authority in realms you can't even see yet? The enemy has been relentless in convincing you that your productive years are over, that your voice no longer matters, that your prayers are too weak. But that's because he knows what you are only now starting to remember. Seasoned saints are a lethal threat to his kingdom. You've survived the Great Depression, World War II, civil rights battles, Vietnam, economic collapses, 9/11, and global pandemics. You've buried loved ones. You've raised children in impossible times. You've held families together with hands that never stopped trembling in prayer. You've worshipped through nights when death knocked at your door. And you think God brought you through all of that just so you could sit quietly on the sidelines? No, He preserved you because this generation desperately needs what you carry. They need your wisdom. They need your unfiltered prayers. They need your battle-tested blessings. They need to hear your voice boldly declaring what God can do because you've seen Him do it. The 7th of July is not about you receiving another blessing. It's about you becoming the blessing. You're not waiting for your breakthrough any longer. You are stepping into your assignment. You're not hoping for a miracle. You're stepping into your divine commission to be the miracle. Right now, there's a young mother battling depression who needs the quiet joy radiating from your spirit. There's a teenager contemplating ending their life who needs to be embraced by the life force in your prayers. There's a middle-aged man losing his grip on hope who needs to see the steadfastness etched into the lines of your face. You are not too old. You are perfectly aged. Like fine wine stored in the cellars of your life's pain and triumphs, you are now ready to be poured out for the healing of the nations. Isaiah 46:4 promises, "Even to your old age and gray hairs I am He who will sustain you. I have made you and I will carry you. I will sustain you and I will rescue you." God didn't preserve you just to keep you safe. He preserved you so you could become His rescue mission for others. So rise up, chosen one. Rise with the authority earned from your years. Rise with the wisdom forged in your wounds. Rise with the unstoppable power of your perseverance. The world has been waiting desperately and unknowingly for what you carry. The 7th of July is the moment when you stop hiding and start releasing. You are not the fading remnant of yesterday. You are the foundation of tomorrow. You are not waiting for revival. You are revival in motion, embodied in flesh and spirit, ready to ignite a generation that has forgotten what real, raw, unstoppable faith looks like. Your time is now. Your moment is here. Your season has just begun. Chosen one, as we bring this divine revelation to a close, carry these truths deep within your soul. The 7th of July 2025 is not just a date. It is your divine appointment with destiny. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not too late. You are perfectly positioned in God's timeline. Every trial you endured was not a punishment, but a preparation. Every tear, every silent night, every moment of solitude was building something sacred within you. Remember this, you don't need another sign because you are the sign. You are not waiting for revival. You are the revival this broken world desperately needs. Your age is not a limitation. It is your qualification. Your scars are not proof of defeat. They are certificates of victory. What God has preserved in you through decades of silent faithfulness is about to be poured out like oil on a dry, thirsty land for the healing of generations to come. And beloved, as we come to this sacred close, remember, you are never alone on this journey. Even in those nights when your pillow was soaked with tears, when your heart felt too heavy to carry, the Spirit of the living God was right there beside you. There is an invisible army of saints who have gone before you. They are standing in the great cloud of witnesses, cheering you on as you take each brave step. And there is a living, breathing community of believers right here with you, praying with you, fighting for you, and believing for your victory. As I look into your spirit through this screen, I see warriors rising. I see overcomers refusing to bow to defeat. I see a chosen remnant that God has been shaping and preserving for such a time as this. Your prayers are shaking heavens. Your presence carries weight. Your life carries a purpose more profound than you have ever imagined. So let me ask you this. If God has carried you this far, through every storm that tried to drown you, through every valley that threatened to swallow you, through every battle that nearly broke you, why would He stop fighting for you now? The same God who started this good work in you will be faithful to complete it. I invite you right now, wherever you are, your living room, your car, your kitchen, your hospital bed, to bow your head and join me in this prayer. Heavenly Father, I lay my hand on every chosen one listening to these words. God, you know their hidden pains, the burdens they have carried silently, the moments when they almost gave up. You see the scars they hide, the prayers they whisper through trembling lips, the battles they fight when no one else sees. Lord, today I ask you to breathe fresh wind into their souls. Fill them with unshakable peace, divine strength, and unstoppable joy. Let them feel your love wrapping around them right now, filling every empty place, healing every wound. Remind them that they are fearfully and wonderfully made, that every step they take is ordered by you, and that their best days are not behind them but ahead. Open doors that no human hand can shut. Provide in ways that defy human understanding. Heal what no medicine can touch. Restore what the enemy thought he had stolen forever. Remind them today that they are seen, they are chosen, and they are never alone. Give them courage for today and radiant hope for tomorrow. Let the 7th of July be the launching pad for the greatest chapter they have ever walked into. May they walk in divine favor, supernatural protection, and a harvest of miracles, in the mighty undefeated name of Jesus Christ, the name above every name. Amen. Chosen one, now I want to hear your heart. Drop a comment below and tell me what God stirred in your spirit during this message. Share the revelation, the confirmations, the questions, the prayers. I read every single one. This isn't just a comment section, it's a living altar where we encourage and uplift each other. And if this message touched your soul, please share it with someone who needs a touch from heaven today, a friend who's on the edge, a family member drowning in hopelessness, a neighbor who feels unseen. You could be the vessel God uses to rescue a soul today. If you feel led, and this ministry has blessed you, I invite you to support through the Super Thanks button below. Whether you decide to give or not, I want you to know from the depths of my heart that I am deeply grateful for your presence, your prayers, and your faith. Your support, in any form, is a testament to the living faith that still burns bright in this generation. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a word God wants to deliver straight to your heart. We are building more than just a community here. We are raising an army, a movement of chosen ones who know that our greatest victories are not in the past, but in the days ahead. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Thank you for opening your heart so fully to receive what God wanted to pour into you today. Thank you for being living proof that hope still lives, that miracles still happen, and that faith still moves mountains. Until we meet again, keep your eyes lifted to the horizon, keep your heart open to the impossible, and never forget, you are deeply loved. You are divinely chosen, and your story is just beginning. Go forth in peace, walk boldly in power, and live in the glorious fullness of who God created you to be. God bless you, chosen one. I love you, and I can't wait to hear all the testimonies that are about to flow from your life.